They say betrayal cuts deepest when it comes from someone you love. But what if it came from two people you trusted most? I didn't lose my fiancé to a stranger. I lost him to my own sister. And if that wasn't cruel enough, she actually sent me an invitation to their wedding. I still remember the gold lettering, the fancy script, like it was some kind of joke. But the real punch to the gut. Everyone in my family expected me to smile and say, "Congratulations. I'm Emily Johnson, 28 years old, born and raised in a quiet suburb outside of Denver, Colorado. I'm the older of two sisters. My younger sister Rachel is 25, loud, beautiful, and used to getting her way. We were close once. We shared secrets, fought over clothes, and stayed up talking about boys long into the night. I never thought I'd become a name she crossed out just to get what she wanted. My story begins about 2 years ago when I met Jason. He was working as a physical therapist at the clinic where my best friend Olivia was doing her rehab after a car accident. I still remember the first time I saw him. Tall, broad shoulders, with that kind of smile that made you think everything was going to be okay. Jason wasn't flashy or overly confident, but he had this calm, steady way about him that made me feel grounded. We went on our first date 3 days after meeting, and honestly I thought it might be too soon, but it just felt right. 6 months later we moved in together. A year after that we got engaged. It wasn't some big romantic proposal. He just took my hand one evening on our balcony and asked if I wanted to grow old with him. Cried. Not because it was fancy, but because it felt real. Like home. Throughout our relationship, Rachel was always around. First, it didn't bother me. She was living nearby after finishing college and had just gotten out of a bad relationship. She said being around us made her believe in love again. I felt sorry for her, so I welcomed her into our little bubble. She'd come over for dinner, movie nights, even weekend getaways we planned just for the two of us. Looking back now, I can see all the signs. The lingering looks. The way she laughed at all his jokes a little too loudly. The time I caught her sitting just a little too close to him on the couch. But I trusted them. I wanted to trust them. It all started unraveling when Jason began acting distant. He canceled date nights. He stopped talking about the wedding. When I brought it up, he said work was stressing him out. I believed him, or at least I tried to. Until one night, I walked into our apartment and found him sitting in the dark, suitcase by his side. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He just said, "I can't marry you. I'm sorry. That's all." At first, I thought maybe he'd lost his mind. That maybe someone had died. That something horrible had happened at work. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. Because the next day I saw it. A post on Rachel's Instagram. A soft focus photo of two hands intertwined, with a diamond ring glinting in the sunlight. Her caption. "Sometimes love shows up when you least expect it." And the comments, oh God, the comments. "OMG, you two are perfect. I knew it. You had chemistry from day one. Can't wait for the big day." My hands were shaking so hard I dropped my phone. But the worst part. It wasn't even a surprise to my family. My mom called me the next day and said, "Honey, I know this is hard, but Rachel is really happy. Maybe it just wasn't meant to be with you and Jason." No anger. No outrage. Just acceptance. Like I had been a placeholder. Then 2 weeks later the wedding invitation arrived in the mail. Not a single word of apology. Just a glossy white envelope sealed with gold foil, addressed to Emily Johnson, and a card that read, "You are cordially invited to the wedding of Rachel Johnson and Jason Blake." I didn't RSVP. I didn't call. I didn't scream, cry, or even ask why. What would be the point? They had made their choice. And it clearly didn't include me. But the pain stayed. It lingered in the mornings when I woke up alone in the apartment we were supposed to share as husband and wife. It showed up in the silence, in the coffee mug with the word bride still sitting on the shelf. I didn't have the strength to throw it away. The apartment felt like a graveyard of broken promises. First, I tried pretending I was fine. I went to work, smiled at coworkers, told Olivia I just needed a little time. But I was unraveling quietly. I stopped eating. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake thinking about them, wondering if Jason ever really loved me, or if I had just been a convenient detour before he got to her. My own sister. The betrayal from Rachel hurt in a different way. We weren't just sisters, we were best friends. She knew everything about me. My fears, my dreams, the way I used to practice writing my name as Emily Blake in a notebook when Jason and I first got engaged. She knew what that ring meant to me, what he meant to me. And still she took it all. Worse than that, she paraded it. Her social media turned into a countdown to their wedding. Just 30 days till I marry my best friend. Cake tasting with my future hubby ring. Even pictures of her in the wedding dress. The one she bragged she found in the same boutique I took her to when I was planning my wedding. It felt like she was twisting the knife on purpose. My mom didn't help. She called once, and it was the most surreal conversation of my life. Emily, I know this is difficult, but I really hope you can find it in your heart to come. It would mean the world to Rachel. Rachel. They wanted me to smile through the pain and clap while they said their vows. Oh, absolutely not. So I disappeared. I packed a small suitcase, gave notice at work, and left Denver. Just like that. No dramatic farewell, no explanations. I needed distance. From my family, my memories, myself. I moved to Seattle. Rented a tiny studio apartment. Got a job as a marketing assistant for a local tech company. The work was boring, but it gave me structure. Something to focus on instead of the chaos I'd left behind. The first few months were hard. I cried in grocery store aisles. I avoided Facebook. I blocked Rachel's number. But slowly I started rebuilding piece by piece. I took night classes in digital branding. Started running again in the mornings. Made friends, real ones. And when my boss asked if I'd consider pitching a new campaign for a rising startup client, I said yes, and nailed it. Something inside me shifted. I wasn't the girl who got left anymore. I wasn't Jason's ex, or Rachel's bitter sister. I was Emily. Strong. Capable. Determined. Within a year, I was promoted to lead strategist. 2 months later, I was recruited by a venture-backed startup looking for someone to revamp their brand from scratch. I took the job, and for the first time in forever I felt powerful. Not because I had forgotten what they did, but because I had survived it. Until one day, a white envelope showed up at my office. No return address. Just my name in elegant handwriting. Inside there was a photo of Rachel and Jason, smiling in front of a vineyard. And beneath it, in gold script, "We would be honored if you joined us for our wedding celebration." That's when I realized. This wasn't the first wedding. This was the wedding. The big one. The real one. They'd eloped the year before. And now they were doing the full event. And somehow, they still wanted me there. I sat there staring at the card, unsure whether to laugh or scream. But something inside me stirred. Not anger. Not sadness. Just one clear thought. Maybe it's time they saw who I've become. I looked at the invitation again. Not because I planned to go. But because I couldn't believe they had the nerve. A year after stabbing me in the back. After stealing the man I loved and tossing away our sisterhood like trash. Rachel still thought I'd show up, put on a nice dress, do my makeup, and clap for her like nothing ever happened. Classic Rachel. Always believing the world revolved around her. I tucked the invitation into a drawer. I didn't mention it to anyone for a week. But every night, sitting alone in my new apartment, now a luxury place in downtown Seattle, with a balcony overlooking Lake Union, I kept thinking about that invite. Not because I still loved Jason. That feeling had died long ago. But because I wanted them to see. To see I was still standing. To see I didn't fall apart like they hoped. To see I was no longer the girl they once crushed so easily. 3 weeks later I booked a flight to Denver. The wedding was held at a vineyard estate in Boulder, surrounded by rolling green hills and endless rows of grapevines. They clearly spared no expense. Handwritten signs, lace-covered tables, white floral arches where the couple would say their vows. I arrived right on time. A luxury rental car pulled up at the gate. I stepped out in a navy silk dress, form-fitting yet elegant. My hair in a low bun, pearl earrings, bold red lipstick. Nothing over the top, but enough to turn heads. And just as I expected, everyone looked. I saw my mother standing with a few relatives, her eyes widening as I walked past. She froze, then quickly forced a smile. "Emily, you actually came." I just nodded. No hug, no small talk. I didn't owe them kindness anymore. The ceremony was held outdoors. I sat in the back row, away from the spotlight, but not too far. Just enough for them to see me. When the music started and Rachel walked out in her off-shoulder white gown, I had to stifle a laugh. She always did love drama. And of course, Jason was waiting at the end of the aisle, looking like he was trying hard not to glance my way. Our eyes met once. Just once. Long enough for both of them to understand. I didn't come for them. Came for me. The ceremony went on like any other. Vows of love. Fake tears. Polite applause. Then came the speeches. Rachel stepped up to the mic, scanning the crowd. I braced for clichés. But then she said, "Before we wrap up, there's something important I need to say. I know. The way Jason and I began wasn't exactly something people supported. I hurt someone. Sister I once loved. Emily, if you're here, I just want to say, I'm sorry." The air seemed to freeze. A few people turned to look at me. I sat still, eyes fixed. No smile. No nod. Rachel paused like she was waiting for me to stand up, cry, and rush into her arms like some cheap soap opera. I did nothing. Instead, I waited until everyone started heading toward the evening reception, then calmly walked over to her. Jason had slipped away, of course. He always ran from anything he couldn't control. Rachel looked at me, tense. "Thank you for coming." I didn't expect. I cut her off. "I didn't come to forgive. I came so you'd see. Neither of you broke me." Her face shifted. No smug smile, no confident glare. I tilted my head, calm. "If you think a public apology is enough to erase what you did, I honestly feel sorry for you." And then I left. No dinner. No cake. No awkward slow dance. Just me. Walking away with the posture of someone who had already won. I didn't look back as I left the venue. The sky had turned a deep orange, the last rays of sunlight stretching across the hills. Guests were laughing behind me, music had started playing, and the sound of champagne glasses clinking floated through the air. But I didn't care. I wasn't walking away in shame. I was walking away free. I drove back to my hotel in silence. No tears, no heavy thoughts. Just a quiet calm settling into my chest. For so long I had imagined this moment would hurt, that it would reopen every wound they left behind. But instead, it felt like closure. No, Rachel's apology didn't mean anything. And no, Jason hadn't even had the courage to face me. But I had shown up, not for them but for me. I stood on the very ground where they once tried to humiliate me, and I didn't break. I held my head high, spoke my truth, and walked out without flinching. That's power. That's peace. Back in Seattle, life felt lighter. Work picked up. I was now leading 3 major campaigns, and my team looked to me not just as a boss, but as someone they respected. One evening, after a long strategy meeting, my new assistant Nora leaned over and said, "You know, you don't just lead with intelligence. You lead with grace. It's rare." Smiled. If she only knew the fire I'd walked through to become this version of myself. I started volunteering too. Offering branding support to women-owned businesses just getting off the ground. Felt good to give back. To use the tools I'd sharpened in pain and rebuild something better. Not just for myself but for others. A few weeks later I got a message request on Instagram. "Rachel." My stomach flipped for a second. Then I opened it. "Hi Emily. I don't expect a response. I just wanted you to know I meant what I said that day. Things aren't perfect. I thought getting what I wanted would make me happy. I'm learning it doesn't work that way. I hope you're doing well. You deserve to be." I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I was moved, but because it confirmed everything I already knew. She had Jason. The dress. The wedding. The applause. But none of it could fill the hollow of a conscience that knows it betrayed someone good. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because I no longer needed anything from her. Not closure. Not remorse. Not even validation. She would have to carry her choices on her own. I had already put them down. One evening, as summer turned to fall, I was sitting at my favorite rooftop bar in Seattle. The air was crisp, and the city lights shimmered below like stars flipped upside down. I had just finished a meeting with a potential investor for a personal project, a creative agency I was planning to launch, and I was feeling excited for the first time in a long time. A man at the next table turned and smiled. "Do you mind if I sit here? Place is packed tonight." He nodded. We talked casually. He was from Chicago, in town for a tech summit. Witty, respectful, sharp. Nothing forced. Just easy. After a while he asked, "So, what brought you to Seattle?" I paused for a second. Then I smiled. "A long story. Let's just say, I left behind what was broken to find what I could build." And that was the truth. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't fighting to stay. It's choosing to walk away. With grace. With strength. With your dignity intact. They tried to break me. But in doing so, they handed me the tools I needed to become unstoppable. This story is a powerful reminder that healing doesn't come from revenge. It comes from reclaiming your worth. Emily's journey from betrayal to self-empowerment is both heartbreaking and inspiring. Watching her walk away from the people who hurt her, not in anger but with dignity, was deeply satisfying. It shows that real strength lies not in confronting others, but in choosing yourself. Her quiet resilience, growth, and eventual peace prove that even the deepest wounds can lead to powerful transformation. Sometimes the best closure isn't a dramatic ending, but simply becoming someone they can no longer hurt. Truly an unforgettable story. What do you think about Emily's story? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to follow our channel for more powerful real-life stories about family, choices, and resilience. There's so much more coming your way.